I've been using a Fitbit for the past 4 years of my life, primarily for health reasons. I was never a fancy watch kind of guy and really only wanted a smartwatch to track my fitness. I wanted to be able to track my heart rate, sleep, how well I was performing during my workouts, simple stuff. Get text and call notifications here and there. Nothing crazy. I never wanted to make phone calls from my watch or send text messages from my watch or play apps on my watch. None of that mattered to me, which is why I went with a Fitbit originally. But recently, I made the switch to Apple and I had to get an Apple Watch. If you've been following the channel, then you'll know that I've recently made the switch to Apple, which meant that the Fitbit had to get replaced and I had to get an Apple Watch. And for anybody in the past video who thought I already had an Apple Watch and was lying, this is a Fitbit. And this is an Apple Watch. There is a difference. You wouldn't believe how many comments I got on people saying, "You already have an Apple Watch, you liar. Why are you faking it?" The Fitbit does look like an Apple Watch, but let me tell you, they are not the same. And in this video, I'll explain to you my thoughts on each. So yes, I recently made the switch from Android to Apple, and I made the switch from Fitbit to Apple. Like I said, I've been a long-time Fitbit user for the past 4 years. I started with the Fitbit Charge, then I moved up to the Fitbit Iconic or Ionic, I forget what they called it. And then after I retired that, I moved up to the Fitbit Versa Lite, which is actually what we have here. For those of you who don't know, the Versa Lite is pretty outdated. I think it came out in 2018. Maybe 2019? No, I'm not too sure. They're on the Fitbit Versa 2 or 3, and they just released the Sense. So I was due for an upgrade, and at this point, it was deciding between the Versa 3 or Versa Sense to the Apple Watch Series 6. I've never had an Apple Watch, obviously, and I did my due diligence. They've started with the Apple Watch 1 or 0, and now they're on the 6. And strangely enough, Apple doesn't sell all previous generations. They'll sell their current lineup, which is the Series 6, and then they sell the Series 3 as their budget model, and then they have the SE version, which is also their budget option. And then the cellular gets even more expensive, and then it's just a mess. So I went with the Apple Watch Series 6 GPS version. It is retailed $400. In my mind, $400 is still a lot for a smartwatch on your wrist that you're using for workouts that can potentially get damaged very easily. The Versa 3 and Sense was retailing between $250 and $350, I think, depending on which version you picked. So yeah, they're kind of similar, but the Series 6 was still more expensive. However, my American Express Platinum card had a promotion going on where if you spend over $100 at Best Buy, you can get $100 back. My thinking, buy a $350 Apple Watch, get $100 back, pay $250 for the watch. See, at that price point, now we're talking. So I pulled the plug and I got it, and yeah, here we are. So I was primarily using my Fitbit with my Android phone during its time of use. I can say throughout my experience with Fitbit and Android, there were some bugs here and there. There were times where I wouldn't receive text messages or call notifications all the time. The solution was to either restart my phone or restart the Fitbit or disconnect the Fitbit and reconnected it. It didn't happen all the time, but it happened often enough that I remember it being a pain. Since moving to iPhone, I was still using the Fitbit for about a week before the Apple Watch came in, and during that week, I never had any issues, and connecting it to the iPhone was easier. I received all my notifications with no issues. I honestly think it was just an Android to Fitbit issue. So now it's been about a full month of using the Apple Watch, and I think I can confidently give you some impressions between the two. The one thing that always deterred me away from the Apple Watch was the battery life. For all you Fitbit users out there, I'm sure you're aware of how good the battery life is. I think the reason for this is because the Fitbit doesn't do anything crazy. It just does your basic tracking. There's no crazy blood oxygen sensor or full integration with all your other apps. It's just a fitness tracker. It does what it needs to do. And when I was using the Versa, I was getting at least 4 days of usage before I needed to charge it. Since moving to the Apple Watch, I have to charge it every night. Well, every morning. I'll explain. While yes, the battery life does suck with the Apple Watch, I have adjusted my routine to work around it, and it really hasn't become that big of an inconvenience to me. So how my morning routine works. I wake up, I'll take my watch off, put it on the charger, and do my morning things, get ready, change, dress, and by the time I'm done with all of that and I'm out the door, the watch is already charged to 100%. That's thanks to this generation's fast charging, so that's a pretty big plus. I think you can charge from 0 to 100 in 30 minutes, 45 minutes, not too sure. It charges pretty fast. I like to keep my watch on during at night to track my sleep to see how well I'm doing, but I also like to keep it on as my alarm clock because the haptics on the Apple Watch alarm clock is really good. When you compare it to a Fitbit, The Fitbit's loud and alarm clocky, like it's a rude awakening, which is the purpose, I suppose. But with the Apple Watch, it feels like someone's gently tapping on you, and then it gets a little bit harder to ease you into waking up. I don't know, it's a very interesting experience that I highly recommend you to try out if you know anyone that has an Apple Watch. Might be a weird question to ask them, but give it a shot. So battery, yeah, it sucks compared to a Fitbit, but you can live around it. The other downside with the battery is if I'm planning to stay somewhere for more than a day, I have to make sure to bring my Apple Watch charger with me, or else that thing's not gonna last. With a Fitbit, I knew I could take like a 3-day trip without having to worry about bringing a charger. So yeah, battery life with the Apple Watch, not the best, but you can work around it. Next thing I want to talk about is the accuracy and workout tracking. The primary reason for these watches, besides to tell time, is to track my fitness, because I'm pretty into it and I want something to track it to see how well I'm doing. I did a small experiment between the two during a jump rope workout to see which one's more accurate, and it looks like the Apple Watch came out on top. But how accurate are these guys really? I think the results they give you is just a very good guess. Now with the Apple Watch, you do get a lot of extra bells and whistles that you never thought you needed. After having them for this past month, I still don't need them. Honestly, the only features about the Apple Watch that I use is to receive notifications from text messages, phone calls, Airbnb notifications for my business. I like being able to adjust the volume setting on Spotify with whatever music or podcast I'm listening to. That's a plus. The main things I use the Apple Watch for is fitness tracking, alarm clock, sleep tracking, notifications from text messages, phone calls, apps, heart rate readings, checking my stock prices on the watch list, and yeah, that's pretty much it. The other subject that we need to talk about between the two watches is comfortability. Which watch is more comfortable to use? Because at the end of the day, if you're wearing it all the time, you want to make sure you're wearing something that you're comfortable with. With the Fitbit, I've been using it for the past 4 years, and their straps are pretty similar, even though I use third-party straps, and I've gotten pretty used to it. But since moving to the Apple Watch, there is a difference. I had them both on my wrists to see if I could notice a difference, and throughout the day, I would notice the Fitbit more than the Apple Watch. I think the reason for that is because the actual watch itself on the Fitbit's a lot bigger than the Apple Watch, but that also depends on which variant you have. As far as comfortability, there are times throughout the day where I don't notice the watches on my wrist, but I think that also comes down to the type of strap you're using. I've mainly been using the sports band that comes with the Apple Watch. I'm a size small in the wrist, but I just made the switch to the Solo Loop, but not the Apple Solo Loop. It's a third-party knockoff from Amazon. I think it was only like $16. It looks great, fits perfectly, and is very, very comfortable. However, it did take me about 3 returns until I got the right size. I tried using their sizing guide on the Amazon product page. That didn't work. It was way too big, so I returned it. I got like 3 sizes down, and that one was just a little bit too tight to the point where it's leaving imprints on your wrist, where I don't think that's good. So I returned that. I got the next size up. Here we are on that, and it's pretty good. I like it. It's not too tight. It's not too loose. It gets a little loose when I'm doing a workout. Like, it will come up and down, but not to the point where it's gonna fall off, obviously. If you're in the market for a Solo Loop and you're on a budget, just go to Amazon, get a third-party one. They look the same, nobody will ever know, and it just works. So in conclusion, after being a longtime Fitbit user for the past 5 years, I can safely say that I do not regret moving to the Apple Watch. It has been a huge upgrade, and I'm very happy with it. I think the only thing you're really giving up from moving to the Apple Watch is the battery life. With the Fitbit, you're gonna get amazing battery life, period. I haven't tested the new Versa 3 or Versa Sense, but just knowing how well the Versa Lite did, it's safe to assume that those guys are doing very well. With the Apple Watch, you're gonna get a day, maybe 2, depending how light you are. Get used to charging every day with this thing. The good news is the charging on it's very fast, so that's a plus. Going to the Apple Watch, you are getting a lot of new features, a lot of unnecessary features, but there are a lot more pros with the Apple Watch than the Fitbit. I think it also really depends on if you are already in the Apple ecosystem. If you currently already have an iPad, iPhone, MacBook, just Apple devices, and you're looking for a smartwatch, then get an Apple Watch. That's just the most logical thing to do, because by adding that into it, you're gonna enjoy the whole Apple experience a lot more compared to if you had a Fitbit or another smartwatch. It just wouldn't communicate as easily. Also, I heard that there's an update coming in the future where you can unlock your phone with your Apple Watch. Since we live in a mask world now, that's gonna be a very cool update, and I can't wait for that to happen. In all honesty, if I was still an Android user, I would either get a Samsung Galaxy Watch or wait for the next gen Fitbit, because Google recently just bought them out, so hopefully their next generation of Fitbits will be even better. Like I said, it really depends on which ecosystem you're in. If you're Team Android, you're not getting an Apple Watch. I mean, you can, but it wouldn't make sense. And if you're Team Apple, you wouldn't get a Samsung Galaxy Watch. All right, so that's it for this video. In conclusion, making the switch to the Apple Watch. I enjoy it. I'm definitely not going back to the Fitbit. I'm going to sell it for whatever I can get for it, maybe like 20 bucks. I hope the Series 7 isn't cooler because that's going to suck because I just got this. And then if the 7 is really cool, then I'm going to want to get that. And then the cycle just continues. So welcome to the Apple ecosystem, right? I hope this video brought you some type of value. If it did, I would highly appreciate it if you liked the video. Comment any questions or concerns you may have down below. Let me know. Are you team Android, team Apple, Galaxy Watch, Fitbit, Apple Watch? And finally, subscribe for the journey because why not? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I don't think you look that much like the Apple Watch. You know what's crazy is that I never put a screen protector on you, and there's like no scratches on you. I went through Mexico with this thing for a whole month, and it's still good. I already put a case on the Apple Watch because I'm too scared to get it scratched.